Inflation, interest rates, and Gen Z gets career advice from TikTok. Welcome back to the Hairdresser Strong News, and what does it have to do with you? This week, we're going to be talking about those three topics: inflation, interest rates, and Gen Z's use of TikTok for professional advice, career advice. So let's start off with inflation and interest rates. So this week we had two readings of inflation, the CPI and the PPI. Now, what are those? The PPI is the producer's price index, and it is an inflation gauge for costs going up for the customer. Obviously, if the producer or the business, their prices go up, then they're probably most likely going to pass that on to the customer, which hurts the customer, and that causes inflation from the customer's perspective to go up. Now, the CPI is the consumer price index. Now, that's just like you would think. This consumer price index is the prices for you and me when we go out to the store or we get a service done. So both for producers and consumers, interest rates have both beat expectations. And something that I think is really interesting is that it's going to continuing its downtrend, and the Fed isn't convinced, and so they're going to hold those rates up a little longer. So I'm just going to share my screen real quick so that you can see what I'm talking about. So if you're listening on podcast, you can just use the links below to follow along if you would like. Otherwise, just listen up. Okay, so my first article I have here it's called Powell Says Fed is Not Confident It Has Done Enough to Bring Down Inflation. This is from CNBC, and the author is Jeff Cox. And the points here is the Fed chair, Jerome Powell, said he and his colleagues remain steadfast in getting policy in line with their 2% inflation goal. But we are not confident that we have achieved such a stance. So why do you care? Well, the reason why you care is because if you're trying to expand your business, or you're trying to take out a loan, or your clients are trying to expand the business, or they're trying to buy a house, then this is going to cause their pockets to tighten up a little bit. And the idea here is when interest rates go up, people put it in savings, meaning that they're spending less money, and that's the concept here. So they want people spending less money to cause inflation to go down, because the concept of inflation just means there's a lot of dollars in the system chasing the same amount of goods or fewer goods, which means that the price of the goods and services get bid up. Okay, so that's important if you're a business owner, or you have customers who are business owners or trying to make life changes or decisions, then money is going to be tight for them. All right, so Jay Powell, the head of the Federal Reserve, which is our central bank, he stressed the Fed nevertheless can be cautious as the risks between doing too much and too little have come into closer balance. So what we want to hear, at least what I want to hear, and this is not financial advice, but I just want to hear that interest rates are going down. And if interest rates go down, then that means buying a house, so it's going to be easier. Borrowing money to open up a business is going to be easier. And me trying to sell one of my condos is going to be easier. All right. So the next story. So Jay Powell is saying no to lowering rates yet, but they're remaining cautious, and they're going to keep watching the data. And as I just mentioned, the data says that inflation has slowed down more than expected. So this is really important news for you and your customer. Saying on top of this is really important. Plus, it might make an interesting conversational piece behind the chair. Okay, last but not least, this is on fortune.com. They have a ton of incredible articles. I highly recommend you check out fortune.com. However, if you use it on a desktop, you probably have to pay, as you can see this, but I was able to pull up this article on my cell phone. Why do they not make me pay on a cell phone? I don't know. But anyway, this is fortune.com. Jane Tier, I think, there is the name of the author, and the title of the article is Gen Z is Making Career Moves Based on TikTok Advice. They say it's working for them. Now, I think this is really interesting because I've been having a lot of conversations with you and and other people like backstage, everyone from influencers to teachers to salon owners to suite owners to students to stylists. And what I've been hearing is that people are starting to not feel like they can trust the advice they get on social media, nor do they feel like the value of an educator is equal to the amount of followers they have. So there's a big question about the value of advice and the value of education that people are received through social media. So I thought this was really interesting because this is saying that according to this article, 50% of Gen Z and millennials are getting served specific career advice on TikTok. 50%. That's crazy. And guess what? 88% of those people say that the moves that they made from this advice have worked out. And only 2% said that it bit them in the butt, which is crazy to me. And this comes out of frustration and desperation from the job hunt. So basically, this article is trying to say that people are frustrated and desperate. I guess wages may have not gone up as much as inflation in a lot of cases, and people are frustrated. Now, in our industry, if you're hiring or you're looking for a job, just know that salons typically don't have the money to pay for your health care. And if they did pay for your healthcare, they would have to be a nonprofit, and the owner would have to work and run that business for nothing, most likely. Now, that is like a challenge because our business is only an 8 to 12% profit margin on average. And I see coaches talking about coaching their salons and suites to 20% profit margins. So you have to be coached and hire a professional to get to a 20% profit margin, let alone beat that. So that just means that there's not a lot of money to pay for benefits. And that is one of the frustrations that is happening in our industry. And I would love to hear if you have a different perspective and if you have figured out how to give benefits other than a group rate for health insurance or maybe like whatever. I would love to hear from you. I'd love to know how you did it. But people are frustrated with the job market, and that frustration is on both ends. I know salon owners are been frustrated because they can't find the help that they need. And so what does that mean to you? That means that people want jobs and people are hiring. And we just have to figure out how to bridge that gap. And I would say I would be weary of anything that I heard on social media. I would make sure you look into the people that are giving you advice, even though I'm giving you advice right now. But my advice is just to do your homework, do your own research, and make sure that you're not just following and listening to somebody because they have a ton of followers or they make really good content, because that is not the same thing. Anyway, so don't expect any relief on borrowing costs, expanding your business or anything like that. And know that if you want to know what your potential employees are thinking, go on TikTok because they're probably taking that advice. And if you have something to add or something that you'd like to share, I'd love to hear from you. You can leave a comment below if you're on YouTube. If you're listening on podcast, you can send me an email at listen@hairdresserstrong.com, or you can shoot us a DM on Instagram, and our handle is at the Hairdresser Strong Show. All right, until next time, see you later.